Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Jonesboro. We're here this week with Craighead County E911 Director Jeff Presley. And Jeff, we want to talk about the weather because this is a significant time of year for weather and weather preparedness in Craighead County.
That is correct. Springtime in northeast Arkansas brings the threat of severe weather. Over the years, we've seen our share of that. So in a proactive manner, the E911 department here in Jonesboro and Craighead County has got several programs in place to help the citizens be aware of what's coming at us and how to take precautions for that.
Well, tell us about some of the things you've been working on lately. What are the things that we will see coming out of the E911 Center?
You know, a lot of the lessons learned over the past couple of years working with the National Weather Service, and this time of year, you know, they pick up speed and we start getting ready for that. And one of the big components of protection is notification. Here in Jonesboro, we've got a couple of good systems to notify the public, which is free and secure. One of them that we use and have been using for about 5 years now is a Nixle, Nixle.com. It's free to sign up on your cell phone. You can get alerts for your area or for all of Craighead County. So if the weather is getting bad outside, you'll get that alert. We'll let you know what's happening.
And we obviously have had sirens for a while, but there are times when people need to understand the sirens are not warnings, they're tests.
That's correct. A couple of years ago, we upgraded our tornado outdoor, and that's the big word on the sirens. It's an outdoor warning device. You know, if you can hear it inside your house, that's a bonus. That's a good thing. But it's primarily for an outside warning device. Inside you need that weather radio set for this area, ready to go. If you get those alerts, it's going to wake you up at night. It's going to notify you. But we put in 33 new sirens across Jonesboro. We've got it covered pretty good this time, and we test those sirens every Thursday at noon, weather permitting.
And by weather permitting, you mean if it's clear and obvious to everyone that this is a nice day, the sun is out, it's a good day, and we're going to test these sirens so you don't have to fear that some tornado is around the corner.
That's correct. You know, if it's sunshine and blue skies, Thursday at noon, you're going to hear that siren. Now, if it's overcast and a threat of a storm, you hear that siren, it's going to be a real call.
And if you hear it at 1 o'clock or 12:25 for that matter, you might want to check out.
That's correct. There is a threat. And, you know, we work well with our national media outlets in town, the radio stations, TV stations. We want to make sure that everybody's connected, knowing exactly what the threat is and how to prepare for that threat.
And you guys do a good job of connecting with every avenue.
Thank you.
That does that type of thing. You know, you can sign up for alerts at the cityofjonesboro.org website, and Jeff and his 911 center make sure that they are prompt and accurate. And Jeff, as you say, we know everybody has a weather app out there today, but sometimes my little weather app says this is going to be a cloudy day, or get ready to bring your umbrella, or it doesn't tell me, and it's not really precise.
That's correct. So you have to be prepared. You know, we got redundancy in everything we do at 911, including weather alerts. Of course, any type of threat in northeast Arkansas, we hook in with the National Weather Service chat line. So we're talking to Little Rock, Memphis, and if that weather is getting close to us, our social media sites, Facebook, Twitter accounts on E911, the city website's going to send you an alert along with Nixle. So it's good to be tied into all those avenues.
That's right. And when you put out an alert, it is specifically for Craighead County, is it not?
That's correct.
So in other words, if you've got some app that you've downloaded, like I do, and it tells you that there's rain in the forecast, that might be for a general area. But specifically with what we get here and from the Nixle system, we are specific to Craighead County.
That is correct, and a good example of the preparedness and the type of apps you're talking about. A few years ago, summertime, middle of the afternoon, a threat of severe storms come up in Craighead County. This was what we call a pop-up storm. It was heat related. Well, it was south of Jonesboro. We started tracking this. The National Weather Service contacted us and said this has potential for some hail, possible tornadoes. It's a small cell, but it has potential. We started tracking that storm, and we actually set our weather watchers out to that area along with police officers. Police officers spotted a tornado on the ground doing damage. At this time, we alerted, it was right at times for school children, things like that. We alerted the schools. We set off the sirens. The news agencies called us and said, "Do you see something?" So yes, we got eyes on this tornado. So that's an example, and we tracked that tornado across Jonesboro into Lake City. No deaths involved in it. We did have a lot of property damage, but that's a good example of, the local weather, knowing what's going on locally.
That's good. What do you know? We have had recently in the news, and with some tragic consequences, just wind alerts and bad weather that does not involve rain or thunderstorms. Is this something that is traditionally happened in Craighead County, or was this a freak random event?
It is. You'll get wind alerts, certain type of, now we've got dust alert in the last few days. That's something new to this area that you don't see a lot of. And it's very dangerous. So any type of alerts that's going to go out, watches or warning, we're going to share that information over our social media, over our websites and things like that. So you never know from day to day what the threat's going to be. The dust storms turned out to be a very serious situation for Northeast Arkansas.
Have you or any of your peers, have you guys discussed the cause of the dust storm and whether this is something that's going to be more prevalent in the future and that we have to prepare for?
We feel like that, some of the causes of the dust is, of course, the farmlands. They're cutting down a lot of the tree lines. Eastern district of Craighead County is mainly sand, sandy loam soil, river bottom soil. So you're going to see more and more of that as the trees disappear. So it's going to be an ongoing issue for us.
Now, Jeff, you're a historian and a historian of weather as well. Can you talk about some of the tornadoes of history that have been, I guess, kind of infamous in Jonesboro history?
Well, if you talk to the folks around in this area, a lot of them will bring up 1968 tornado. The end of May in 1968, and it was later in the afternoon, after dark. We had a series of tornadoes that impacted East Jonesboro, included several fatalities. Tornado tracked into Eastern District, Craighead County through Lake City and parts of Monette. Then again in 1973, Jonesboro was hit again. A lot of folks will remember Jonesboro High School. At the current location where the new school is, the 4-story or 5-story building, it was completely destroyed, and we had several deaths at that time. The city administrators become proactive in getting sirens. At that time, we used civil defense sirens around town. It's very loud. They worked very well for many years, and now we replace those with new updated products.
What are some of the land features? What are some of the things that drive tornadoes specifically, but weather events that are damaging? And do we have places that are more frequently victimized by these type of weather events?
Well, traditionally we will track here in Craighead County and Jonesboro area a tornado coming in from the west. National Weather Service will track the storms that's coming in from the west, tracking to the east. We have found over the years that the ridge has a major impact on the weather systems, and it can change any second. So that's why it's important for us to be on top of that and tracking that storm as it goes along, to notify and make sure that everyone in the track of that storm knows what's coming at them.
How has time changed these events in our area? This is the traditional season. We're approaching May, and this is the traditional season for tornado and sudden thunderstorm, things like that. But has that changed through the years?
It has. Back in the 50s and 60s, 70s, most proactive approaches was a storm shelter in someone's backyard that everybody shared. So if you got the news warning, if the electricity's out, the battery operated radio, everyone would head to that little storm shelter, and it was a community type event. Now you see a lot of single home dwellings with safe rooms. They have now on the market, they've got concrete, reinforced steel safe rooms. Basements, a lot of homes are built with these in place. In garage storm shelters, it's actually in the ground, in the garage. So we're seeing a lot of proactive measures for citizens, but we need to know where you're at. We've looked at tornadoes in Joplin, Missouri a few years ago. One of the major factors on the response was locating landmarks. In a severe tornado, everything's going to be gone, but a few trees and structures. So the street signs, things like that, it's going to be impossible to identify those addresses. So what we're doing here in Jonesboro and Craighead County is we set up a digital database, and if you register your storm shelter online, it will be added to that format. If we respond to an area that has been devastated by a tornado, we'll have those GPS coordinates for each first responders to locate you if you're trapped in that shelter.
Well, that's good, because I would assume, and this is novice opinion, that a lot of the shelters these days are beneath people's homes, whereas 50 years ago they were probably away from the house and built in the grass. Would that be a fair assumption?
That is correct. And one of the concerns that we have as emergency managers is the in-ground garage shelters. There's always a potential for that house to fall on that, or the car that's over that to trap the folks inside there. So it's very important for us as first responders to know exactly where you're at.
So they need some sort of GPS device, but those are commonly sold now, I would assume.
Well, it's actually included. If you register that shelter, we will actually pinpoint your shelter and add it into a GIS database. But another great product that we're blessed to have here in Arkansas that can be beneficial during that time is the Smart 911 system. Smart 911 is an enhancement to your regular E911. So you can build your profile online. It's free of charge and secure. You can put that building layout of your home, your safe room location, how many people would be in that safe room on any given day. So we'll have some of that information. If you have to dial 911 from your cell phone, we will have that information about your shelter.
Very good. And there are some public shelters that we have around the county. Is that true?
That's correct. We try to get notification out as soon as possible when the shelter is going to be open. Most schools in Jonesboro have a safe room. One that we use quite often is South Jonesboro and Fox Meadow at Fox Meadow School. We rely on the school resource officers to get down there and unlock the doors, and we will do the notification through Nixle for that.
How do I decide if the weather's bad, I'm a couple of minutes away from a shelter? How do I decide whether to try to lay low where I am or go seek a reinforced shelter?
That's a great question, because we get a lot of calls and it's all about timing. Folks want to know, when do I go to the shelter? That's where the proactive approach of watching that radar, watching your local media outlets. If this storm system is producing rotation, hailstorms, west of Jonesboro, there's a good chance it's going to produce the same thing for Jonesboro. So nowadays, with the technology we have with radars, we can start predicting that, 15 to 20 minutes out, that there may be a possibility for some severe weather in Jonesboro. So, get your family ready, have that plan, that safety plan, and get ready to go.
What if I'm out on the streets or I'm driving down the highway and maybe I see a little hail or experience a little hail? What type of actions should a person take in those situations?
Well, there's an old tale that get under an overpass. National Weather Service, they do not recommend that. In a tornado, you can actually be pulled out from underneath that. The safest reaction to that is get in the lowest possible spot you can. Now, if you have to get into a drainage ditch or something, be aware that there's going to be some rain and things like this. So that's a very dangerous scenario to think about, but if you're out and about, you need to get to a safe structure if all possible. If not, you may have to shelter in place in a car or in a ditch.
Yeah, these are type of things that the science has been, I guess, evolving through the years, because we've known best practices for years, but some of those practices might have changed. And I think you just hit on something about the get under the underpass. It seems like shelter. It seems like a good idea, but I guess there's the potential for a vacuum effect.
That's correct. There is dangers to that.
What other things do you think? Are there any things that come to mind that are maybe been discounted as old tales and theories that may not be so good?
One of the dangers associated with severe weather is lightning. A lot of people dismiss that, but every year in Arkansas, there's deaths out on the waters, fishing, in boats, softball fields, things like that. So you have to have that information that storm is coming, take the measures to get children off playgrounds. And nowadays they've got thunder alert systems they're using across the nation to alert people on ball fields that there is a storm. It can pick up that thunder and that lightning, and it's a good time to get off that field if it alerts you.
And that's a great point too, because we've seen that through the years is more awareness at ball games, at get-togethers. I think we've always seen golf tournaments. Golfers have always been very good at getting out of the way of lightning. They learned probably back in the day the hard way, but now we see football games postponed, baseball. They will, but they have the radar now also to know precisely when the storm has passed.
That's correct, and the new radar systems that we're using in place here in Jonesboro, we can actually see the number of lightning strikes, hailstorms, or anything associated with that front.
And that's fabulous. Tell me some of the things as a weatherman that you have enjoyed learning, following the technology of the weather. What are some of the...
As 911 director for the past 9 years, I've seen a lot of changes in alert systems and the weather forecasting. And I think the strongest point for Northeast Arkansas is the teamwork we have here. We have a great team of weather watchers. The second we get that threat, they're out and about around our county. We have constant contact with them with radios. We're in contact with our local TV stations, radio stations. So we're working as a teamwork approach for the safety of our citizens. So that's a good positive point, and that's really evolved in the last 5 years.
Well, with some of your weather watchers, I assume you're talking about some volunteers.
That's correct.
So how would someone volunteer to participate?
Every year, the National Weather Service will come into town. It's an 8-hour training program to be certified. A lot of it is how to report it, where to be during the storm, and how to interact with local media. But it's a very good program. Anybody that's interested in doing that, just contact my office, and once it's set up for training, we'll notify you.
I guess it's interesting because you have some people who are attracted to severe weather and just intrigued by it, and then some who are horrified by it. And do you have an advice for people to obviously be safe, but also for those who may be nervous, a little too nervous around the potential for bad weather?
Well, you know, the National Weather Service channels and things like that, they highlight some of the weather chasers, tornado chasers, and I think the movie Twister a few years back when it came out, a lot of people want to get involved and chase tornadoes. You better know what you're doing. That can be very dangerous, and we've seen that across our nation, even with the news forecasters' vans being blown over and things. So it's a very dangerous deal. You need to know exactly what you're looking at.
Well, that's interesting stuff. Now, what about the E911 Center? I understand you guys are undergoing some renovations and some changes in Craighead County. What's happening?
That's correct. You know, our E911 Center, we built it and opened it up in 1992. It's a FEMA certified building for a communications center. We're running 18-inch walls with fiber concrete and steel. It's set up for earthquake preparedness, generator backup, but it's time to enhance some of the products inside. It's, you know, technology is ever changing. This last year in 2015, we upgraded our phone systems to meet the national protocol for Next Gen 911. This is the equipment that's going to get us in line for streaming video, photos, and things like that to come into 911 that can be relayed to police cars, fire trucks, or paramedics. So some good technology, and we're seeing this change to the next gen format, not only with the phone systems, but also with the radio systems. So what we're doing at 911 at this time is doing a 20-year cable replacement. We're exchanging all the wire cables. We're going to upgrade the systems as we go with new consoles. So hopefully we'll be set up for the next phase of Next Gen 911. It's a big step, but it's time for us to do it.
And I know the end goal is always even more safety. And I guess you have seen through the years us become safer and better alerted, better prepared for weather events. Do you have any memories of things that put that in context? Any ways things were done back when you were young to the way you see responses these days? Well,
you know, the big change in emergency communications, 911 centers, police departments, fire departments, come about after the attacks of 9/11/2001 in New York City. After that, we've seen mandates for different radio systems that would be interoperable between fire departments, police departments, 911. That was the big deal when they arrived on the scene of the Twin Towers. They found out real quick they had no communication between police, fire, and medical. Lost a lot of lives that day simply because of communications. The state of Arkansas is one of the first states to get on board with a true Interop statewide radio system, which we use on a daily basis here in Jonesboro and Craighead County. It's the Arkansas Wireless Information Network. That was a big step in public safety for our area. And I think as time goes by with technology changes, you're going to see more integration between 911 centers and public safety around the state, where you got the mutual aid channels, mutual aid agreements in place. If we have that big event, say we have a 7.0 earthquake on the new Maverick seismic zone, or if we have that tornado, we're going to be able to work closely with other agencies in Arkansas.
Very good. It's good stuff. Jeff, thank you for taking the time to visit with us.
And appreciate it very much.
Thank you for the work you guys do, and hope you come visit with us again someday.
Yes, sir.